Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Yans with Andy. Today I've got Declan Bannon, Group Health and Safety Manager from Acrow Group. Welcome, mate, and more importantly, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, mate. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Declan, let's talk about implementing safety in design at the pre-construction phase.
Okay, so what exactly do we want to discuss? So we're talking pre-construction. Are we talking early contractor engagement from clients to main contractors, or are we talking about disseminating that throughout the rest of the subcontractor division?
Let's start with the importance of that. Yep, safety
So-
in design, and also I want to get to the cost implications downstream. That doing it well, not doing it well. What are the cost implications of that downstream in that process?
So, to be fair, right, a lot of what I'm going to say here is my opinion from my experiences both in construction in Ireland and how I've seen it done effectively,
Yeah.
and how I've seen it in New Zealand. And I haven't experienced a lot of pre-construction, but the ones I have experienced is very much just people, effectively it's people's opinions on what's the right methodology. There's very, from a client to a main contractor, it's very much that here's our plan, you go deliver it.
Yep.
In my opinion, an effective ECI is an early engagement with subbies as well to ensure that the methodology that you're trying to achieve is actually achievable. So if we take my current position, right? So in Acrow, in the group, I look after 4 businesses. There is absolutely no program ever for scaffolding.
No program ever, did you say?
No. So if you think about it, you're talking about pre-planning. When you put it into context of scaffolding, very few companies actually know what they want, apart from we're going to put a perimeter scaffold up on this elevation.
Yeah.
But that changes every other day. What's your goal? What's the outcome? What's your Gantt chart look like? What does all this? It changes every day.
Interesting.
Because
Why do you think that is? I mean, I'm a planner. I do this for a living.
construction's
Yeah,
fluid,
I
right?
do forget scaffolding sometimes, which is
But
terrible
construction-
to say.
Yeah, but construction is fluid,
Um,
right? So the interesting side of it is we provide a control to every other trade.
Yeah.
But we're expected to deliver the control in the most unsafe manner and as quickly as possible. So if we're involved and engaged early and going, we need to do this on the eastern elevation of just Commercial Bay. Take Commercial Bay as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
We're going to do
Yeah.
44 stories at a tower to do a reglazing,
Yeah.
right? If we're engaged early, we can plan, program, and deliver on time, and we can give you a methodology that allows you to de-risk. My personal opinion is COVID has completely fucked the construction industry.
How so?
Budgets are blown.
Yeah.
Time is money.
More important than money, but
Time is something you can never reclaim, right?
100%.
So when COVID hit, the construction industry was on an incline. It was actually going in the right direction from a health and safety space. They were trying hard. They were investing money. Budgets were allocated to actually deliver things in a safe manner. I don't know about the time side of things, but in my opinion, as the time goes out, the first thing that goes is get it up as quickly as possible. So safety goes out the window. You go from de-risking and looking at methodology to build in a safe manner to throw that shit up, get it up as quickly as you can with X amount of men. That for me increases risk rather than decreases risk.
Absolutely does. How many times do you have to adjust that scaffold to get your services up?
Your RLs are out, your levels are, everything is out.
Yeah.
And for me, that just increases the risk profile. 1, on my staff, the ones that I'm accountable for, but 2, on every other trade that's there as well. Because when time is pushed, everything else condenses. So you think about building over people. People over people is your biggest risk, right? My biggest concern is people falling and shit falling. My greatest concern is us dropping something onto someone else.
Fair. Yep.
But when time is an issue, everybody needs to get their job done immediately. And it's piss poor planning and piss poor management.
So what are you saying? I'm doing a fucking terrible job. Is that what you said?
It's not you. It's guys. It's the guys downstream, right?
Can I do a better job?
You can put your plans in place, right? But
Yeah.
if they can't be delivered effectively by the guys downstream, what value do you add?
Fair.
Do you know what I
Fair.
mean?
Yeah.
Because your plans have to be achievable, and I've seen your plans, and the data you give is quite powerful. So for that to actually be digested and delivered is a different scenario. Because what you do is fantastic, but what we do downstream is very, very different.
So it's the last planner that you're talking about. How do you get that level of detail?
My greatest flaw in New Zealand is we literally do not deal with the guys on the ground to deliver what we want to deliver. We deal with managers.
So when you say we,
So
I want
the construction industry, right? The
Okay.
industry as a whole.
yeah,
We go in and we do health and safety meetings. We go in and we do last planner sessions. We go in and we do high level briefings and all this fucking shit. But that means nothing to the guy with a spanner in his hand.
agreed. Yep. So how do you get that message through to him?
How, that's the if that was the silver bullet that would fix the industry. That is literally the silver bullet that would fix the industry. So how we're taking up an initiative, and we're evaluating our KPIs and we're evaluating actually how we deliver things daily.
Yep.
So we all do daily pre-starts, right?
Everybody
So
does.
we've gone from the ECI now to daily bills. So we've gone fucking way off topic, but that's fine. This is just going to be a good spin of a yarn. We've gone from going, right, we want to do daily pre-starts. Fucking daily pre-starts not worth a fucking piece of paper. Right? It's a compliance checkbox. What we're looking actually doing is moving into a pre-job briefing. Every job you do needs to be...
Isn't it the same thing with a different name?
No, but it's every job. You might have 5
Right.
jobs in a day.
Okay.
So you do a briefing for everyone, and it only takes you 5 minutes rather than a 20-minute pre-start.
So how is that different from a
You
pre-start?
do a pre-start at 7 a.m.,
Yep.
and you do 5 jobs between that time and 5 o'clock.
Right.
You've done smoko, you've had lunch, you've sat down, you've forgot.
It's
Like you go,
gone over your head.
you go out into the industry and ask somebody at 11 o'clock what you talked about in your pre-start.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so you tell me that's an effective tool.
That's a very valid point. I mean, they just asked me what I had for dinner and I couldn't remember. So
Yeah. So like what we're actually looking at is we're looking at shifting our mindset from you tick a compliance box to actually doing what's important. And for us, it's how do you get a collaborative, contributing, effective, and efficient means of delivering an outcome, so a task, in the quickest means possible in the safest manner. And we're looking at actually, well, the guys who are delivering it with the spanner in their hands are the best possible people to actually tell us how they're going to do it. Especially when you have some advanced scaffolders or intermediates or whatever leading those conversations.
So just run me through what happens in one of the pre-start briefs. What are you calling it?
This is an initiative we're looking
project
at.
brief.
We're developing currently to roll out.
Yeah,
Our
right.
pre-starts manner, you sit down, you go through what are today's goals, what are the risks, what are the controls,
What could go wrong?
what's your emergency procedure, and it is literally everyone goes in, they tick a box,
Yeah.
right? Because it's tap that button on your phone, tap that button on your phone, tap that button on your phone, have a conversation, fill in some words. A lot of it will be we're going to build a scaffold.
Yeah.
That means fucking nothing to me.
So 5 days later, he's just on autopilot ticking boxes.
Absolutely. But
Interesting.
you move into you move into a space where you focus on what's important, and every task is important. If you do it at 7 o'clock in the morning, by the time you get to 2 o'clock when you're doing your last job of the day, everybody's forgotten. So if you do it moment in time, you actually create a greater level of engagement. And for me, that's
a very interesting concept.
And for us, we're looking at moving from a quantitative point of view in leading indicators. So you think about you're doing your evaluations on a monthly basis for board reports, or you're doing your triffer to give it off to clients when they want to get your pre-qualifications and whatnot. We're actually moving into a space where we're going to bin some of that because it's not important, right?
Yeah, because they're all not lead indicators; they're all lag indicators.
Yeah,
aren't they?
I mean,
shit that's happened in the fucking past.
We report on our observations. We look at how many audits we do. We look how many engagements we have. But what's actually the effectiveness of them? So we're moving from a space where we're ticking a box to do something and go, yeah, I have a KPI to do 1 thing this week and 5 things this week and 3 things this week. We're moving actually, what's the effectiveness of what we're doing?
Yeah.
So we're actually going evaluating what's the effectiveness of a pre-start. So have you ticked all these boxes? Have you actually hit the KPIs of what an effective pre-start looks like? And when we move to pre-job briefings, which are going to be less to give you more, what's the effectiveness of those?
Yeah,
we'll set a bar to go, you have to at least achieve 85% for that to be an effective briefing. So now you get a barometer across our profile, which is 4 businesses nationally with 16 hubs effectively across the whole country. We move into that space and we go, well, we get an evaluation. And what do you get? You get above the line, below the line. Below the line, coaching, growing opportunities. Above the line, rewarding opportunities. So you always try and get people above the line to acknowledge positive behaviors. Reinforcing positivity breeds consistency, breeds continuity, breeds success. That's the goal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in health and safety, the goal is continuous improvement.
Yeah.
So if you're not in that mindset of
It's-
continuous improvement,
Yeah.
even at the early stage when you're engaging with people early on, going, we are going to have challenges, we are going to have gaps, we are going to have issues in the ECI phase, because when it comes from ECI to delivery, it's an ECI problem because we haven't factored it in.
Yeah.
Now it's delivery, so how are we going to overcome it and continuously improve?
Yeah.
That in essence is health and safety. It is
Absolutely.
continuous
Health and
improvement.
safety, it's a lifestyle, isn't it? You've got to get these guys to get it inbuilt into what they've got to live and breathe it.
Mate, I would love to say it's a lifestyle, but I'm very much a do as I say, not as I do kind of character. Sitting here at 2:00 in the afternoon, sipping on a lovely Jameson whiskey.
Cheers, mate.
Looking for sponsors, Jameson. Anybody?
Jameson triple, by the way.
Yeah. So, mate, and thank you, by the way. Appreciate that.
Easy, mate.
But yeah, very much a do as I say, not as I do. So I should probably look at my integrity and probably go, I should be a little bit more well behaved to actually go and challenge people a little bit more.
Yeah.
My values should align what their values are, especially from 7 till 5. So.
But you're Irish.
Greatest rugby team in the world.
Mate, that's some really interesting insights into what you do.
But it's factual, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you just said it yourself, right? Planning, you miss out on the scaffolding package.
Not
don't
always, not always. But
It's very,
but
it's
here's
very
the thing,
difficult to put a
It is.
scaffolding package together, right?
Yeah,
Because
so-
it changes every day.
Absolutely.
And that is my biggest challenge. That is my biggest
temporary
risk.
works. Yeah.
It's change management in temporary works.
Yeah, temporary works, and you go in because when I'm actually writing a program of works, I'm just going, okay, how are we going to get the steel up? How are we going to do the earthworks? You know, all of that's front of mind for me. And then I go, yep, they'll figure the scaffold out. I'm sure they'll figure it out on site. I just need to leave some allowance in there for a scaffold, and they'll figure it out. But I mean, I'm not going to go to the nth detail of what your scaffold design is. You know what I mean? I'll never get to the end of a program, and nobody will read that program.
But
if I do that.
I get that, right? But
Yeah.
but when you put that in context, you're allowing a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Is
what
that-
you're allowing for is
Based on-
our guys to
based
go
on
in,
square meters.
throw a harness on, and go and build something as quickly as possible. Whereas what I want to get us to, and mindset-wise, is are we doing 1 meter lifts? Are we doing the tunneling method? One, that's going to cost you more money because it is going to cost you time because we're trying to de-risk the risk of fall and dropped objects for our people. Two, it's going to cost you more on rental because if we're doing 1 meter lifts, we've got to put a shitload more gear on. So when we put that time factor in, that comes with a cost.
Yeah.
So what we can deliver in, let's say, arguments like 4 days with a safe manner to de-risk on our people, some other company could deliver in 3 days or 2.5 days, and you don't get the same onto rental. But we're trying to deliver a high quality product that poses less risk to your business.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, COVID's fucked all that because now you're going, right, well, we have a budget.
Yeah, your
The
costs.
budget's not changed.
Yeah.
The time's gone way out. Everybody's getting hit for money. Businesses are going under. You're going to go with the guy who's going to do it in 2.5 days instead of 3 days, and we're offering 4 days for a high quality product, but we're also charging you more rental. You're going to go with the guy who's below us.
Yeah, I mean it's the traditional time cost quality triangle. You know,
100%.
you don't have the time,
And
so you're gonna
like,
get a
honestly,
shit quality product.
and
So
that's the thing. New Zealand's actually in a really, really positive trajectory, like when it comes to actually managing and de-risking, and it's just gone off a cliff since COVID hit.
yeah, Declan, you work for Acrow Group.
Yep.
Currently, and you've got business units all over the country. Yep.
Yep.
So, what are some of the challenges you run into managing health and safety in multiple locations?
Well, to give you a bit of an overview, right? So the group I'm with, we have 2 scaffold companies. We've got Sky High, so residential scaffold company based out of Christchurch and Auckland.
Yep.
Tube and clip, quick up, quick down, high turnover, really, really good returns.
Awesome.
We've got Acrow, obviously.
Yep.
So Auckland, Hamilton, Palmerston North. We've got an industrial division that works kind of out of Tokoroa and Taupo. We've got Wellington, we've got Christchurch. So doing quite well. Mentioned Pammy
Well
as well.
done.
I think I mentioned Pammy. Doing quite well. We've got direct scaffolding supplies for all your scaffolding needs. We've got
Contact Declan.
them in Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch. So
Yeah.
about to get a lot of ring lock into Wellington. So anybody in Wellington listening, if you need ring lock scaffolding, hit up Macca. He'll be a man to take care of you.
Yo.
And then we have Up to It Access Hire, which is based out in East Tamaki, similar to Access Man, that kind of stuff. So doing all height for hire equipment.
I was trying to keep count of how
Yeah.
many locations you said. I've already lost count. So
Yeah, so roughly we've got 13, I think, across the country.
Yeah.
Different location, different branches, some same location, but different business units kind of everywhere. I think the biggest challenge for us is standardizing.
Right.
So trying to make something that's not best for business, best for group, has kind of always been my mindset when I've gone into the company. It's what's not best for business, but what's best for group, because I can focus on what's best for Sky High.
Yeah.
Because it's effectively right. It's 2,
But
3, 4.
there's different
Sky-
markets, though, isn't it? It's resi,
Correct.
commercial.
Correct. But at the same time, the risk is the risk. So a fall at 8 meters is
Yeah.
effectively a fall at 16 meters, 20 meters. You can die, right? For me, risk is risk.
Fair.
So my evaluation is what's best for group.
Yeah.
And it's trying to put in controls that are the most reasonably practical for group rather than by business unit.
Yeah.
So dropping a swivel or dropping a double or dropping a tube on somebody's head is never going to be good, right?
100%.
So how do you manage that risk accordingly and effectively across all of our group rather than just in Acrow?
Okay.
The challenge that we have is and I'm calling a spade for my business, we have a varying different level of competency. We have a very different level of risk tolerance and risk acceptance. From a client point of view, when you get out of, and I'm more than comfortable saying this, when you get out of Auckland, when you get out of Wellington, you get out of Christchurch, you start into, and this is with big contractor, I won't name them, but this is
Please
with
don't.
big construction companies.
Yeah.
Their risk tolerance becomes a lot more in comparison to companies in Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch.
Interesting. So you moved to the suburbs, and suddenly
And
people forget health and safety.
You walk
Interesting.
outside the big cities, and it just becomes you're out of sight, you're out of mind.
Yeah.
And there are big companies where their hubs are in the main cities, and when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So once you go into one of those jobs, I mean, the people there don't really give a fuck, and it's just like put it up and take it down as quickly as you possibly can in the unsafest manner. They don't say that,
Because they
but
wouldn't.
that
Yeah.
is exactly what they expect.
It would be illegal to say that.
100%.
Yeah.
But the mentality is that should be down in 6 hours, not 12.
Wow.
And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So
So how do you manage that across your group?
So
Like,
that's
you've
what
got
we're trying to
16
do.
locations, right?
And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to actually standardize what's best for group rather than what's best for business.
Okay. So you
So we're-
standardize a set of procedures. Doesn't mean a guy on site's going to follow it, is he?
Correct.
Yep.
So what we're currently doing is we are facilitating workshops across the entire country of 450 people. So I'm accountable for 450 people in our business, right? So we are doing workshops to get a baseline of everybody's understanding of how we currently manage our hazards,
Yeah.
what their understanding of the risk actually is,
Yeah.
what their understanding of their responsibilities are at the very bottom levels, so the doers, so the guys who are working on the coal face, doing the doing, what is their understanding of their responsibility?
Yeah.
The next step is what is their needs? What do you need from your leader? So your frontline leader, your leading hand, your foreman, whatever you want to call it. What is your needs? Then we move on to the next level. You're a leading hand, right? What is your understanding of risk evaluation, risk tolerance?
Yeah.
So the controls we put in place to manage the hazard to stop the risk. What is your understanding of that?
Yeah.
And everyone you'll see is
So what you're telling me is it essentially does boil down back to the people.
100%.
Yeah.
So you can put
can-
everything in place, right?
Systems,
But it's
procedures.
It's a decision.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a personal responsibility. And what we are currently seeing is, and I'd be pretty confident saying, when you go to any construction company and that isn't a main contractor who doesn't have supervisors, managers, project managers, blah blah blah. When you get the guys who are on the coalface doing the doing, they will not understand what their responsibilities are. So we are assessing the baseline to actually develop an internal program to upskill our staff on what their actual responsibilities are. So we're moving. We want to move away from site safe. We want to move away from construct safe because they don't bring any benefit to the industry.
Right.
They fucking tick a box.
Yeah.
They charge you a shitload of money to go and do a course to get onto a job with CRL or go onto a job and get on with Fletcher's.
Yeah.
But what value do they bring?
Fair call. That's actually an interesting point. Yeah.
What value do they bring, man? I can
they-
sit down behind a laptop and do my refresher on site safe and go through it 3 times
Yeah.
and fail every fucking time and then go back and do it a 5th time and pass. What fucking value does that bring to the industry? They talk about bringing value to the industry. You don't bring fuck all.
Yeah.
For example, like Chaz and Zay go off, oh, we need you to do this, this, and this to get onto CRL. And and I'm sorry I'm calling them out, like, but you go this, and this, and go CRL. I was like, well, we have got people who have English as a second language,
Yeah.
so it's not our problem. If you want to go and translate in Tagalog, it's us. They need to speak English to work in our country.
Okay.
I completely disagree because we have leading hands. We have, if they can't understand English, they shouldn't work in New Zealand. I'm like, well, we have leading hands who speak fluent Tagalog, who do our briefings in Filipino
Yeah.
to get their in Tagalog to get them over the line.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's unacceptable.
What difference does that make? But they will only deliver their courses in English. And I have asked them to try and help, and they've said no. If I do it for them, they'll take it off me. But why the fuck would I do their job for them?
Yeah.
That pissed me off.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. So
I mean, they're like what? They're governmental businesses, right? SiteSafe and ConstructSafe, right? They're benefiting the industry. Show me the benefit.
I'd love to see the benefit too.
I would love to see the benefit of what they're doing.
Yeah, I've actually never thought about that
Because I'd love to see how they measure it.
Yeah, I've been on the SiteSafe course as well, a couple of times. Yeah, obviously.
How many times do you fall asleep and wake up? A couple. No offense to anybody delivering courses in SiteSafe. I fucking love you guys. You're actually doing God's work, but at the end of the day, what you're doing isn't adding value.
Yeah,
it's a tick box exercise to get you to work for a main contractor, or it's a Fletcher's or the Hawkins, as whoever are requiring you to do a SiteSafe course that is a tick box exercise that brings no value to the industry.
Right.
What Fletcher's are currently doing, with their whole reset and protect and all that kind of stuff, upskilling. We attended one of their risk things about 9 months ago. That is beneficial to the industry. More people should be involved in that. That is really beneficial to the industry.
So what are they exactly doing?
So we went, because we do a lot of work with Fletcher Living.
Yep.
We attended effectively, it was like, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like a risk containment or a risk control verification seminar kind of thing in Ellerslie Racecourse, where the general manager of Fletcher Living delivered all the presentation on what's tolerable, what's not intolerable, how do you lead safety conversations.
Yeah.
And they've done that across all their businesses and across all of Fletcher Building. That's beneficial to the industry because you're giving people tools.
Yeah.
What tools does SiteSafe give you?
You go through a course on health and safety.
You get a card to say you can work in construction.
Correct.
And you can clip all this up all you want. That is the brutal honesty of it. It is a tick box exercise to get you working for a main contractor. And it is not acceptable. It is not any value add to the industry.
Who holds them to account? Who do they answer to?
I would love to know that answer.
I don't know either.
Neither do I. But I would love to see how they measure success.
How do they measure success? That's actually a valid point. How do they measure success?
Is it beyond the people they pass?
Number of cards they've issued?
Yeah, but I would also challenge that and say how many people have they influenced? How many people have they influenced in the industry to actually make them better?
Yeah.
How do you measure that? Because what we've talked about is their unwillingness to help us.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be ones who help.
They
upskill and benefit the industry, but there was no help.
Interesting insights on SiteSafe.
But I will say one thing on the Chaz and Zed side, that is the reason, so I attended a seminar, that is the reason we are shifting from quantitative to qualitative reviews of our leading indicators. That was very insightful when it brought a guy over from America for a webinar. That was fantastic. But their ConstructSafe and all that stuff is a tick box exercise where they don't do it to actually benefit the industry.
Yep.
Because what is our industry? It is a shit ton of foreigners. Yeah, both of our hands go up, right? How many Filipinos work for Electrics, Summit, fucking Acrow?
Yeah.
Right? How many people work, how many foreigners work on all this, but they won't actually do it in a language that they understand to give them the opportunity to pass and benefit the industry further. We're limiting ourselves by just being an English-speaking country.
Yep. Somebody's got to look into that.
100%.
Yeah. Declan, health and safety training, right? From your perspective, what would be an effective training session, or what does that look like? How would you deliver it to like you say, the last planners on site, getting them upskilled?
So I think it's quite difficult to get to the. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I don't think it's very difficult to upskill people in health and safety, right? A lot of people say it's common sense. Okay, but a lot of people don't really understand risk management. Yep. Which is, right, what does the hierarchy of control tell you? Mm-hmm. You look to eliminate, you look to substitute, you look to isolate, and then you look at your administration, and then you look at PPE. Yep. But everyone in our business, when we go, how are we going to build a scaffolding? So I'm going to use a harness, a lanyard, and I'm going to hook on. Yep. Why? Because it's what we've done for
It's always done.
it's what we've always done.
Yep.
So my point earlier to you is we can actually push out your timeline by a day
Mm-hmm.
and do it without a harness. So now we've
Okay.
de-risked and we haven't exposed our own people to falling, but we've also expanded your program by 1 day.
And that one day could cost a company $80,000
Correct. So when we
in
talk about
liquidated
planning
damages. Yep.
and scaffold packages, they don't exist. Because when we go to de-risk, you've got an idea in your head that it's going to cost you 3 days instead of 4 days. And you're going to go, right, just throw a harness on. That's not reasonably practical,
Yeah.
right? It's $1 million scaffold package. What's reasonably practical for $1 million? Oh, well, you got to assess how you're going to eliminate the risk. You got to assess how you're going to substitute and isolate it. It's not acceptable to go, just throw a harness on, mate, and you'll be fine. That's not acceptable.
Okay.
So for us, when
So,
we're
so
actually,
come back to the original question.
when we're actually going back to training people,
Yes.
we have an industry from a scaffolding point of view who are ingrained with the first thing you do is put a harness on. When you look at a hierarchy and control, the last thing you do is put a harness on, right? You got everything upside down. We have everything upside down. We're a pyramid instead of an upside down pyramid.
Yeah.
So we put people in harnesses straight away. So what we are currently doing is, as I mentioned before, we're assessing the baseline of what our understanding is from hazard management through to risk prevention, responsibilities and needs. And as we go across our entire business and develop that training program,
Mm-hmm.
which is possibly anything between a 24-month and 36-month plan,
Yep.
trains everyone across the business from the SLT, who are our leaders across the group, on what our responsibilities are from a verification of control point of view,
Yep.
through to our managers in the planning phase, which is how do we plan, how do we coax, how do we deliver on budget, how do we do all this for contractors, through to our leading hands who get asked every day, can you just go and whip that up? And they go, yes, no problem, we will do that. But we're going to do it without a harness, so it's going to take you a day and a half. Because the first thing I want them to do is eliminate
here's
the
the
risk.
interesting problem that I deal with as well, right? I deal with the same problem. So, I mean, from a different perspective, but same problem. Somebody comes and gives me a job, and I say, yep, I'll do it for you.
Yep.
You know why? I struggle to say no. Like, I've had to get training and coaching from Drew Knowles to learn how to say no.
Yep. So
It's the fucking hardest thing I've had to learn how to do.
It totally
It's
is.
not easy saying no.
So our biggest market is variations,
Yep.
right? That's where we make our most money.
Right.
But I would love our staff to be able to go, yeah, I can do that for you, but I'm going to need an extra 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours, so I don't need to put a harness on.
Give yourself the additional time and the space so you do it properly.
So I don't
and
need
you
to
don't
put a
fuck it
harness
up.
on. So I don't go straight to PPE.
Yeah.
And that's where we're looking at empowering our staff. So we're currently in the assessment phase of developing a training program. Because we have a trainer, right? We have our own trainer, NZQA delivery for working at heights for EWPs.
Yep.
Perfect. He's fucking fantastic. Charlie Renata, absolute gentleman, based out of Palmy, flies all over the country on a whim to deliver competencies to all of our staff.
Yep.
Perfect. But when it comes to actual health and safety management and understanding risk, we're very poor. And I think as an industry, we're very poor, apart from main contractors. Because the first thing we think about is he'll put a harness on, or he'll wear glasses, or he'll put a visor on.
Well,
how do you de-risk?
But
You
yeah,
don't go to
that's-
PPE, you start at elimination, work your way down. We start on the bottom and work our way up.
But this is the same traditional problem. Everything comes back to cost. Everything is cost. Everything
Mate,
is money.
so what
money,
I'm
money,
saying
money,
is
money.
you're a piss poor planner and we're delivering a piss poor performance. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. That's the 6 P's to
Absolutely.
fucking
Mate,
success.
that's-
Right there.
Roy Keane said it after Saigon when he walked out in 2002.
Yeah.
Piss poor planning leads to piss poor performance.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Semantics, man. We're saying the same
Semantics.
thing. We're saying the same thing.
You
I'm just talking
no,
about
no.
an Irish hero and you're talking about you.
I'm talking about being optimistic here. Right? Come on.
So yeah,
Anyways.
so what we're doing to benefit the industry is actually looking at assessing where our baseline's at
Yep.
and getting a real clear picture of what our staff's understanding of their own responsibilities under the Act is, right? So what does the law say? As a worker, any action or inaction, so anything you do or anything you don't do will not jeopardize the health, safety, and well-being of you, a co-worker, a fellow contractor, an interested party, a member of the public. Nobody gets that. So when we actually go around and we assess people to go, so How do you prevent yourself falling, for example? Real basic one, right? Your hazards working your highest, your risk falling. How do you prevent yourself falling? A lot of people say, I wear a harness. Like, fucking harness isn't going to stop you falling. Just throw a harness on, walk off the side of the building, you're still going to fall. It's a system and how you use it, right? Are you in fall arrest? Are you in fall restraint? Are you in arrest, which means you need a rescue kit, which means you need a plan to get somebody up if they have the potential to fall. How is that effectively managed at the very back end or the very front end of contracts?
Yeah.
It's very difficult in my industry. It's very difficult because it's scaffolding, right? It's fluid, it's organic. Throw this up, throw that up. But what we want to empower people is to understand the risk and start at the top
is this a
level.
problem because it's temporary work, scaffolding?
But scaffolding
It's
is
not.
temporary works, right?
It is temporary works. Yep. So
Everything.
it's
It's
temporary
on a
works.
whim.
Is that why you're not given the level of importance of permanent?
I don't believe people understand actually what they want. So, for example, right, take Commercial Bay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go combat. Yeah.
Take Commercial Bay.
Yep.
Did they know what they wanted from a scaffolding package?
No fucking idea. I've seen one scaffold change about 6 times,
That's my
to
point.
put up
That's my point.
5 different services.
That's my
And-
point. So there are solutions, there are IT systems, there are like shit tons of options to give main contractors an idea on what they actually want. If they can give us a clear picture on what they want, for example, right, we do events.
So
we do events.
this then comes back to design, right?
100%.
So
if you can give a clear idea of design, we know where we can anchor to, and or do we need to put buttress bays or whatever. We can.
So
actually
the
deliver a
projects not do
package.
temporary work designs then? Temporary work design.
We do temporary work designs all the time.
Yep.
But it's only on a whim when we're told that you need to throw this up next week. It's not front ended.
That's the problem there,
It's
isn't it?
very sorry, I won't say
It's reactive.
very rarely front end. We're very much a reactive base.
And that's the problem. So your challenge then becomes, how do you become proactively designing scaffolds as opposed to being reactive?
So we're
How do you
so
pivot your business to do that?
We're doing a big false work package out in the airport.
Yep.
For the car park.
Yep.
That's all proactive design. Everything there, but that's changed about 15 times. It happens, right? Design changes,
Yeah.
things happen, blah, blah, blah.
Change is the only constant, but yeah.
But my point being is we're a very reactive trade
You are a reactive trade.
because everything's fluid and everything changes.
Yeah.
But when things change, we always go to the bottom line. We always go PPE.
Chuck a harness on.
So when we go to somebody and say, no, I don't want to do it wearing a harness, he'll go, fuck you, man. Just fucking get it up as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Nah,
Time is money, right?
time is more expensive than money, mate.
So my point being is if we're very reactive as a reactive trade and we say, no, I'm not doing it in a harness, we lose that contract. We lose that market value.
Yeah.
So when we're actually trying to be proactive and de-risk, to de-risk one, the main contractor, but two, ourselves, and take a bit of heat off them, we're the ones that get hit first. And this is the real thing that pisses me off. We have all these main contractors. We have life-saving rules. We have golden rules. We have safety minimum requirements. We have all these fucking great procedures that you never see early. So, for example, right, there's a contractor that we're not allowed to wear a harness unless we apply for a permit to wear a harness. So we
Okay.
have to build in 1 meter lifts. We did not find that out when we tendered.
Interesting. So that costs you a shit ton of money to do that.
Fucking shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It also meant we got slammed with delay notices because we couldn't build in the time frame that they had allocated for us to build in.
That would be-
Because we didn't have all the clear information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my point being, every company will have these golden rules, these life-saving rules, these whatever any business wants to call them.
Yeah. I
But
get the
if that is
general
not
concept.
upfront and early at the tender and the methodology stage to say, sorry, actually, you need to apply to this business unit to achieve a permit to deliver something every day,
Yeah.
which takes time to do anyway, right? Because
Yeah.
that's part of your planning phase. Takes time to do. We can't deliver on what you want us to deliver if we don't have all the information.
Fair enough. I mean, you need the right information to be
mean,
able to bid. But yeah.
Take Commercial Bay again. How many times were the goalposts shifted there? We introduced new rules. We introduced new procedures. We changed the permit program.
Yeah.
We tried to make it more efficient,
Yeah.
but at times it created more hassle.
For sure. Yeah, it
But
definitely
why?
had
But
its
why does
challenges.
that not impact on a like? Because I've gone from the main contractor to subcontractor now. I'm like, well, why does that impact on a subby's time?
Well,
I-
see,
I
here's the thing. This is
like
the
to
problem I've
think
had, right?
when I work-
Shit flows downhill. Shit flows downhill. It does.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, shit does flow downhill.
I agree. I
and,
totally
and,
agree.
and you're not the only subcontractor having that problem. Trust me.
I agree, but my point being is when I was on Commercial Bay, I tried to make everything more efficient to take less time off subbies. What I'm seeing when it comes to actual main contractors in the industry is they're introducing things that are actually creating more time inefficiencies than creating a safer environment with less time efficiencies.
Right.
That's the thing. The goalposts are shifting all the time without any engagement with the actual interested parties. Like ISO 45001 tells you engage with your interested parties who are your contractors, your visitors, your members of the public that are impacted by your decisions. There's very few companies in this country that would get that accreditation because I don't think a lot of people will be able to justify that they've gone and engaged with every single contractor who's impacted by their decisions.
Yeah.
That's a benchmark. That's a gold standard, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Declan, you're a health and safety manager in construction. Yep. You're a rugby coach.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions for you. Yep. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
Ireland.
Fuck off. No way.
All right, so we finished top of our group. We beat New Zealand in the quarterfinals. We beat England in the semis. We meet France in the final. And we beat them by 20 points.
At least have the courtesy of calling them the All Blacks.
That's not in my vocabulary. They're New Zealand.
Come on.
They're New Zealand. I'm not going to live into that egotistic "we are the All Blacks" bullshit.
We are the fucking All Blacks.
Mate, no, absolutely not. You are New Zealand. The All Blacks were unbeatable. New Zealand isn't.
Ouch. That hurts.
Yeah.
Mate,
Sorry to everyone else in the studio that's offended, but
everybody in the studio is offended. Everybody going to watch the video is going to be offended. All right, anyways, mate.
all your 7 listeners are going to be really offended as well. But you know,
The
such is life. But anyway,
the All Blacks will win the World Cup.
so I'm actually very terrified of New Zealand because they're coming in very much under the radar. They're performing quite well now and growing, and you talk about peaking at the right time. Ireland's never got beyond the quarterfinal. The best possible opportunity to win a World Cup. We're probably 3-4 injuries away from being the exact same as we were the last World Cup in 2019, where you lose Paul O'Connell, you lose Peter O'Mahony, you lose Johnny Sexton. All of a sudden, your game plan goes out the window. But I think Andy Farrell's done a phenomenal job of building depth and growing intellectual property across the whole group.
Yeah.
Across all 53 to 60 players in our nation who can play every single position.
Yep.
I think he's done an incredible job on the back of what Joe Schmidt did to give us some discipline. So Joe Schmidt's got he's got a lot of responsibility for where we are currently because he instilled things that never would have been in Irish rugby. Andy Farrell's only introduced an ability to diversify and make good decisions on the back of what Joe Schmidt's done. If Joe Schmidt was there, Andy Farrell
I'm
would be
loving all this
successful.
analysis. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to chuck a bet on that Ireland is not going to win the World Cup?
All right, so I will bet you that Ireland would go further than New Zealand.
What are the odds?
I'll put $100 on. I'll put
done.
$100 on.
Yep, done.
All right, come on, shake. $100 that Ireland go further than New Zealand.
Done. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All your followers and all your listeners and everybody has seen that we shook hands. $100. Ireland goes further than New Zealand.
And I'm saying no way.
All right.
All right. Okay,
Fuck
cool.
it, mate, you've had too much whiskey.
That's whose fault is that? That's your fault. Who are a
I've met a
triple?
couple of delusional people in my time, but wow.
Bold statement.
Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Back here, come back. All right, sweet. So, safety in rugby. Yep. So the new rules brought into concussion management in rugby players. Yep. You can relate to that from your day-to-day job. Yep. Is that hindering the sport?
So this is something that's actually very close to my heart, right? So being an ex-player, having grown up and played it since I was like 7 years of age, through to
working in construction and health and safety.
Yeah, absolutely. But even if I take that hat off and I move into the player space where I played from 7 till 27 when I was medically retired with a shoulder injury and whatnot, through to coaching afterwards. When you start coaching, you become a bit of a. It's not like. For greater one word, you're like a father figure because you're accountable for 23 players every weekend, right? So if somebody gets a head knock, it's your job to get them off the field. I think rugby last year was in the safest possible place it could ever get without jeopardizing the core values of what rugby is.
Right.
So what is rugby union? Right? It's a confrontational, physical sport that's highly skilled.
It's war.
It's fast impact collisions.
Yep.
There are microsecond decisions that result in people getting injured. I think my personal opinion is rugby is the safest it's ever been. We are currently looking at from a World Rugby point of view, and I'm not sure if New Zealand has opted in, but Ireland, England, Wales have all opted in to this tackle height below the navel. So you're talking waist.
Right.
So now you're talking about everything is a chopped tackle, so everything is waist down. That is incredibly hard to get to if you're 6'10". Rugby has always been a game for all shapes and all sizes. The way the game is currently going is taking away from the ability to be all shapes and all sizes.
Yeah.
The values of rugby have always been respect, confrontation, fast pace, physicality, all those
teamwork,
great,
more importantly.
Teamwork, discipline, all those things like that build us into the people that we are. But the way we are currently going is actually taking away from every single person in the community to contribute to the game. Because there's never going to be a 6'10" person who's going to tackle a 5'6" person. They would never get that low.
So, yeah. So what you're telling me is I can't play rugby then?
I've made the way rugby's going. I'm 6 foot. I won't be able to play rugby in a couple of years because it's not going to be a game for all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be a game of who can get their hips lower than the other person and not get yellow carded. Because the way it's going is, if you hit somebody around their nipple, it's a yellow card in club rugby. Right. That's the way rugby's going. You hit someone in the head, it's a red.
Is it killing the sport?
But what's the values of it? Right?
Yeah.
It's a confrontational, physical, fast sport, disciplined. It's a game for thugs played by gentlemen. 100%.
Yep.
Soccer's a game for gentlemen played by thugs, and rugby's a game for thugs played by gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we're focusing so much on the outcomes of concussion, which I totally agree with. But I don't believe that we're going to get any safer by reducing tackle height to put my head closer to someone else's knee.
Yeah.
You think of that for a minute, right?
I am thinking about it. I'm processing it.
We're reducing the tackle height from... So you can't hit over the shoulders.
Yep.
So if I hit you around the chest, like the pec area, and your head whips, damage on you because it's a soft carry from you and I put a dominant hit on. But now I have to sink my hips and try and get to your knees. And if I make a bad decision or in a split second, my head goes in front of your hip instead of the back of your hip. And I go, for example, in front of your hip and I clip a knee.
Yeah.
If I go back of your hip, I clip an arse cheek. In a split second, I'm unconscious or I'm conscious. And that's every tackle. That's every single tackle. We are taking away the tackler's choice. We are putting him in a risk of 50-50. You make a good tackle or you're knocked out. That, for me, is not making the game any better. That is making it actually more hazardous. For me, we are trying to teach people better tackle technique.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all about dominance.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about winning the physical battle and being physically more dominant than your opposite number or the person running at you. And if you're putting parameters in specifically to stop me being dominant in the means that I am very comfortable with to actually do it legally and safely without hurting significantly the other person, you're now jeopardizing my safety. So I don't believe what World Rugby is doing is in the best interest of rugby. We are going to lose.
Is that going to have a huge impact on the World Cup? You reckon?
This World Cup, no. Next World Cup, yes.
Okay.
We are losing. So in New Zealand, we are losing hundreds of players out of school every year. The club game in New Zealand is dying.
Right.
It is absolutely dying. One of the reasons is everyone wants to be a professional rugby player. The other reason is not every player is a professional rugby player. Another reason is not every player has an affiliation with a club. So you go through a junior grade. So, for example, my club Eden, you go from junior to 6 to 12. You leave at 12, you go to Auckland Grammar. You leave Auckland Grammar at 17, and you go, fuck it, my mates are all going to suburbs. I'm going to go play with my mates in suburbs. You have no affiliation with a club. The club game in New Zealand is dying.
Ouch.
That is nationally.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this out there to anybody in New Zealand rugby who's listening. You need to scrap you need to scrap like the second 15, the third 15, the fourth 15. You need to get rid of them, and you need to reintroduce club rugby from 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s to affiliate players with clubs.
Why is club rugby important?
Like clubs feet.
For everybody that doesn't understand.
What do you do after school? Not every player goes straight into the Auckland setup or straight into Blues. They go play club rugby. They go play MPC.
Yep.
A lot of players get picked up from MPC into clubs.
Yeah, right.
Or sorry, clubs into MPC.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, there's a huge disconnect because every club has a really strong junior setup.
Yeah.
From 6s, 12s. But as soon as they leave, there's no affiliation with a club. My biggest thing, and it's, mate, when I was in Ireland, I used to play, I played under 12s in a club, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s in the school, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s with a club. I couldn't get enough of playing rugby.
Oh, yeah.
But now we're taking away from kids to go, you can only play with a school. Where's the affiliation with a club to grow a club? That is literally the cancer in New Zealand rugby.
Right.
It is literally the fact that you take people out of a club, put them in a school, and they have no affiliation until they leave school. If you want to grow the game in this country, you have to keep them affiliated with a club if they are not playing first 15.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the level of coaching at second 15, third 15, no offenses to any of those coaches, but I guarantee you, if you put a 1A, let's say an under 18s coach in who has their tier 3 or their level 3s with World Rugby, they're going to give them the same or if not better level of coaching at that level because they are the top coach at 18s. They are not the second choice coach at first 15.
Yeah.
So for me, if you want to grow the game in this country, you've got to bring back club rugby.
Yep. So I have an interesting rugby story. Yeah.
Hit me. Come on. Hit me.
Would you believe me if I told you I knocked out Manunu?
If you knocked out Manunu,
yeah.
Was this with a punch on a night out or in a rugby game?
On a poker table.
On a poker table, right? I want to hear this.
This is my first few years in New Zealand. I think I was 2012, 2013. Me and a mate, my mate Phil Soul, we actually went up to the casino and I just have a game of poker. We're like, oh yeah, chuck in a handy, see what happens. And Phil said, I'm not going to play today. That's cool. So I went and sat down on the table. Apparently I was sitting right next to Mao Nunu. I had no idea. So I didn't know what Mao Nunu looked like. I never watched rugby back then. That was my first few years in New Zealand. I'd seen a couple of rugby games, but
hence why your opinion on the Rugby World Cup is so poor.
Fuck. Bringing it back to that. Right. Anyways, right. Okay, come back to the story, right? So I sat down there, like, this dude sitting down there with all his chips. And I put him all in, and I still remember my hand. I had ace 3. Yep. I put him all in on ace 3 because I had 2 pair. He had ace jack, something like that. And cleaned him out. He banged the table and walked out. And then I'm like, cool. I'm $200 richer. I'll walk out of here.
So just to all the listeners, when he said I knocked out Matt Nanu, I was expecting him to throw a punch, not knock him off a poker table.
What? Hey.
Fucking mate, but fair play.
Fact.
Fair play. I like the story.
I knocked him out. Right?
Fuck, I love that story, mate. It's a play on words, but that is outstanding. Well played, Andy. I love that.
When I came back outside, my mate asked me, do you know who that is? I said, I have no fucking idea who he is. He goes, that's Manunu. I'm like, oh, yo, that's Manunu. Cool. Anyways.
Who?
Good story. Yeah, that's my. All right. I think we're pretty much wrapped up,
Mine?
aren't we? I think we're pretty much wrapped up, aren't we?
Oh, do you not want me to rant a little bit more about club rugby and whatnot?
How long have you gone? We've gone over 7 minutes.
Fuck it, man. We've gone for a while. This is an hour and 20 minutes of a conversation.
Yeah, cool. Should we wrap it up there?
That's up to you.
Yeah. I think
You
we
want
should wrap
to,
it up.
mate? You want to keep grilling me about things? I'll just keep.
No.
asking questions.
I'm done. All right, we're still rolling. We good? Cool. Hey, Declan, mate. Thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate your time to come on the podcast. It's been great having you, and great getting all the insights on health and safety in New Zealand and rugby. And I'm pretty confident I'm going to win that bet for $100, and I'll come to cash in on that on that $100 for sure.
Well, firstly, thank you. Appreciate you having me on. And again, just a reminder to everybody out there that this is just my opinion. So you may agree, you may disagree. You don't need to come at me about it. So thank you very much for having me. Also, you are delusional. Andy, you are delusional. So Ireland are going to win the World Cup. And thank you again for having me.
Cheers, mate.